When winter hits, it's easy to retreat. So between the cold and the shorter days and the challenges MS can bring to our mobility and temperature regulation, we often end up hermetic, like a hermit, sealed away from the very elements our bodies need to heal. So today we're going to break that cycle. And I'm talking about sunlight and grounding today, specifically how to master them in the dead of winter. We're going to dive into the hard science and why your eyeballs need the sun, why your blood needs the earth, and how you can do all of this without freezing your toes. So stay tuned. In case you don't know me, my name is Adrienne Charlie. I'm a nutritionist. I'm an integrative nutritional health coach, and I help people reverse their MS. So if you're interested in reaching out to me, you can email me at info@nourishyourway.com, and you can ask me questions about my 12-week program that I have my clients go through. And after 12 weeks, I've helped their symptoms disappear. Let's get into today's episode. And I want to start with the sun. There's a science behind sunlight and our eyes. We've been told for years to avoid the sun, to protect our skin. But for somebody who's reversing their MS, the sun is a primary signaling mechanism. So I want to help you understand the science of our master clock. Deep inside your brains sits our master circadian clock. It doesn't have its own window. It relies entirely on our eyeballs to tell us what time it is. When photons, specifically the blue and bright light of the morning sun, it hits the melanopsin receptors in your retinas, and it triggers a massive biological chain reaction. So there's 3 important ways to look at this. Number 1, cortisol timing. It sets the healthy morning cortisol spike, which gives you the energy to fight MS fatigue. Number 2, melatonin prep. It actually sets the timer for your melatonin production 12 to 14 hours later. If you don't get morning light, you won't get deep restorative sleep tonight. And number 3, dopamine and serotonin. Sunlight actually triggers the release of these neurotransmitters, which are vital for the mood stability and cognitive function, often impacted by MS. So keep this in mind. This is really important. Do not look directly at the sun. You don't need to stare at the fireball to get the benefits. You simply need to go outside facing the general direction of the light. You can look around the sun. Your eyes are incredibly sensitive. Even the indirect light on a cloudy day is 10 to 100 times more powerful than your brightest indoor office light. So in the winter, it's hard to go outside. I get it. I live in Colorado, and we're about to have a cold snap here in the next couple of days. And when it's that cold, I personally don't want to go outside either. So I hear you. If you're saying it's 20 degrees or below outside and it's cloudy, how am I supposed to do this? And being next to a window, of course, is better than being in a basement with no windows at all, or being in an office where you're in a cubicle and you're only getting the indoor light from the office. However, going outside is best. Here's an idea. Bundle up, make some hot coffee or tea, wear a parka, wear a hat, wear gloves, but leave the sunglasses off. Then take your tea or coffee out to the porch and just for 10 minutes, either sit there with you facing the sun, or you can do a noonday hike. If you miss the morning light, the midday sun in winter is actually safer because it's at a lower angle. It's less intense on the skin, but perfect for the eyes. If you absolutely cannot go out, open the screen. What's most important is for you to get the direct path for photons to enter your face and your eyeballs. And cloudy days matter too. Don't skip out because it's gray outside. There's still massive amounts of sunlight coming through those clouds, and your brain is hungry for it. Now, in the winter, depending on where you live, if it's 50, 60, 70 degrees outside and you're able to go for a walk, great. Bundle up, go for a walk, and get as much sun as you can up to about 30 minutes. This is so healing. I now want to switch over to grounding. So many of us that are managing MS, inflammation is the enemy. And I know we talk about diet, movement, and stress, but we often overlook the literal ground beneath our feet. In the summer, it's easy to kick off your shoes in the grass, but in the winter, we become a little bit more insulated by boots, heavy layers, and indoor living. So I want to tell you how you can skip grounding in the winter and use some indoor methods where you can get Earth's energy inside your home. And before I get into that, I want to go over the science of grounding first. And grounding or earthing, it means the same thing, isn't just woo-woo, it's physics. The Earth's surface holds a subtle negative electrical charge. It's teeming with free electrons. Our bodies are bioelectrical, which means every heartbeat and nerve impulse in an MS-affected body relies on electrical signals. When we make direct contact with the ground, those electrons flow into us, and that's what we want. Here's the science behind grounding. Number one, inflammation. A study published in the Journal of Inflammation Research showed that grounding produces measurable differences in white blood cells, and it essentially acts as a natural antioxidant. This neutralizes the free radicals that contribute to the chronic inflammation seen in MS. And cortisol in sleep is a big factor too with grounding. Research in another journal called the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found that grounding during sleep resynchronizes cortisol secretion levels with the natural 24-hour circadian rhythm. For people with MS fighting fatigue, this is a game changer. And then it also helps your blood flow. Grounding has been shown to reduce blood clumping, which improves circulation. And this is vital for delivering nutrients to damaged nerve tissues. So I'm going to talk about the winter dilemma. So in the winter, like I talked about, it's hard to go outside when it's snowing, or if it's, 10, 20, 30 degrees outside or colder. We face a couple of problems. First, the ground is frozen or it's covered in snow or ice. While snow is conductive, standing barefoot in a blizzard isn't very practical, and it's not very comfortable either. Second, in the winter, especially, we spend 90% of our time indoors. Modern buildings have laminate flooring and also rubber-soled slippers all disconnect us from the earth. We become electrically ungrounded, which can lead to increased static electricity in the body and potentially more noise in our already sensitive nervous system. So essentially, we can bring the grass inside. So how do we get those summer benefits in January or February, for example, when the temperatures are the lowest? We can use indoor grounding devices. So for myself, I sleep on grounding sheets every night. And this is something you can buy on Amazon or online. So for example, I have a fitted sheet and I plug it into the ground part of my electrical outlet and I'm sleeping on it 8 hours a night. So I'm getting the same benefits as if I were putting my feet and standing on the grass. Now, you can also buy some grounding devices that are less expensive, like grounding pads or even bracelets that you can put on your wrist. So as I'm talking to you right now, I actually am putting my feet on a grounding pad, and it's like I'm standing in the grass. So I'm getting these benefits as I'm inside working on my computer. And I actually have grounding bracelets in the living room. So when I know I'm going to be watching TV or watching the football playoffs with my husband or a movie with my husband, sometimes I will wear a grounding bracelet when I know I'm not going to be getting up often to walk around. If I know I'm going to be sitting for an hour, I'm going to be putting it on my wrist, and then I'm getting the same benefits. And here's a couple of quick tips. You can test your outlets and your grounding device. So for about $5, you can buy a testing device. And I've got one. It plugs in, and while you're holding it, you can hit a button. And my particular one has a red button. And while I'm holding it, and then I'm touching my grounding sheet, for example, the light will stay on. And then when I take my hand off of the grounding sheet, the light turns off. So that's how I know that it's working. And of course, your bare skin is best. I sleep in a t-shirt and short shorts. And so my arms and my legs are touching the sheet. So it's better when you have your direct skin on the sheet. And then have consistency. So if you can afford a sheet, you can even get a pillowcase, then you won't even have to worry about it. Because if you're grounding all night long, this is incredibly beneficial. So when you're living with MS, and I think you've figured out by now that you have to learn all these different tactics and all these different ways to start healing your body. And this is a good thing, because knowing how to heal yourself back to health is critical. So living with multiple sclerosis means being an expert in your own body. And winter doesn't have to be a season of disconnection. By going outside, getting sunlight on your face and in your eyeballs, and using grounding tools, you're giving your nervous system the stability it needs to start healing, even when it's snowing outside. So I think you're beginning to learn, if you've been listening to me for a while, that there's a lot that goes into healing MS and healing any disease, really, because all these same tactics that I'm sharing with you heal just about every other disease too. So I hope this episode is helpful for you today. I hope you can get outside as often as you can. And if you don't have any grounding devices, I hope that you can get online or go to Amazon and buy what works for you. And if you have any questions, just email me at info@nourishaway.com and get on my newsletter too. I send out a lot of great information every Friday and a new recipe to try every week. And send this podcast to somebody else who might have MS, because I bet you know somebody else that can benefit from this information as well. Thanks again, and you'll hear me on the next episode.